सिक्किम को धन हरियो बन स्वर्ग को फुलबारी जंगल भरी तिसु नखरी फूल को चहारी चार रंगीत हिमाली नदी झरना झरर पहाडबाट मैदान झर्छन् सन्देश लिएर. I hope you remember this poem taught in your elementary classes in the government schools of Sikkim. Sikkim, a place where beauty knows no bounds, where tranquility fills in the air and where vibrant culture flourishes. Sikkim, which is home to Kanchenjunga, world's third highest peak and home to India's first 100% organic culture. Sikkim, the protective brother of the 7 northeastern sister states standing by the chicken neck. That Sikkim today needs the rest of India to stand with it. Today, Sikkim is weeping, trying to tell you a story that the nation must hear, a tale that has been shrouded in silence, a crisis of epic proportions that demands our collective attention. I bring you a story of massive destruction and tears of sorrow the state of Sikkim is going through right now. A story that the national news media has overlooked, but one that deserves to be heard by every heart that beats with empathy. It all began on a tranquil night like any other night in Sikkim. The moonlight danced on the surface of the Teesta river and the world slumbered in blissful ignorance. Families lay in peaceful sleep, children dreaming of adventures and farmers resting after a day's toil. Businessmen sleeping peacefully after closing their shops, hoping that they'll open their shop the next day just like any other day. A sense of safety and serenity felt in the night air. But nature has its own plans, unpredictable, relentless and unforgiving. In the dead of night, Sikkim was hit by a cloudburst, an unrelenting downpour that doubled the state's normal rainfall. Between October 3rd and 4th alone, the North Sikkim received almost 5 times its usual precipitation. Before we move on towards our story, it is important to know about South Lhonak Lake. South Lhonak Lake is located on the top of Lhonak Glacier. This lake was first spotted in satellite images back in 1962 as a pond of water on the glacier's surface. Over the years, it grew in size, becoming a separate lake by 1977, covering about 17 hectares. By 2008, it had expanded even more, reaching by nearly 100 hectares. Because it was on a glacier, there was a risk that it could burst and cause floods. So in 2018, pipes were set up to drain water from it. Despite of that, in September 2023, satellite images showed that the lake had grown to 167.4 hectares. And on 4th October midnight, the much anticipated disaster unfolded. As the cloudburst occurred, the borders of South Lhonak Lake could no longer contain the heavily increasing volume of water, and the water pressure caused the banks of the lakes to burst, triggering a sudden and devastating flash flood. As the waters surged downstream, a warning came from Indo-Tibetan Border Police at midnight. The operators of the Teesta 3 dam at Chungthang rushed to open the dam gates, but it was too late. The flood released its rage, tearing down the dam and submerging the 1200 megawatt hydroelectric powerhouse in Chungthang. A massive structure, the so-called Temple of Development, worth 14,000 crores, was shattered by Teesta in the blink of an eye. The flood went ahead and the unforgiving water current swept away everything in its path. Homes, cars, garages, even the fertile fields that sustained livelihoods, leaving behind a landscape of broken hopes and scattered debris. The Indian Space Research Organization revealed that the surface area of South Lhonak Lake had shrunk by over 100 hectares, a chilling testament to the destruction that preceded the event. These floodwaters raced downstream along the river Teesta, sending water levels skyrocketing to 15 to 20 feet. Mangan, Gangtok, Pakyong and Namche districts of Sikkim, as well as Kalimpong, Cooch Behar, Jalpaiguri and Darjeeling districts in West Bengal were affected heavily. 15 bridges were washed away, leaving the northern and southern part of the state cut off from the rest of the state. The river washed away the settlements in the low-lying belts of Teesta mercilessly. All the houses, sets, quarries, vehicles parked on the banks, agricultural fields, it spared nothing. The degree of damage was highest in the Chungthang, and going downward, it heavily impacted places like Balwatar, Singtam, Rangpo and Teesta Bazar. The river, now an unstoppable force, mercilessly swept away the concrete buildings entirely, leaving behind a trails of shattered dreams and cherished memories. In those frantic moments, the owners could only focus on saving their lives, forced to abandon everything they held dear. Belongings, each with its own story and sentiment, were lost to the relentless current as the families looked on helplessly in the face of nature's unforgiving power. The merciless Teesta, in its furious path, inflicted damage upon the shops that stood along its banks. Business owners who had invested their hopes and dreams in these establishments now found themselves counting losses in the wake of destructive deluge.
पूरा का पूरा डैमेज है। 4 गोडाउन प्लस मेरा ये दुकान, हम लोग का फैमिली का लिविंग सोर्स ऑफ इनकम यही है और कुछ नहीं है। 3 भाई हम लोग हैं, तीनों का वो है।
लगभग कितने का नुकसान आप एस्टिमेट कर रहे हैं?
अप्रोक्स कर सकते हैं आप 70 से 80 लाख रुपए मिनिमम। उससे ऊपर ही होगा, उससे नीचे का नहीं।
लेकर बस यहीं पर यही दुकान रोजगार करके जैसे तैसे गुजर करती हूँ, बच्चे सबको पढ़ाती हूँ। अब वो भी सब खत्म हो गया।
आप जब ये उस रात जो हुआ था, आप कहाँ पर थी? आप
घर में ही सोई थी, 2 बज रहा था, घर में ही सोई थी।
और क्या हुआ अचानक से? क्या मतलब आपको कैसे पता
अचानक से
चला?
मैंने लोग सबका आवाज सुनाई दिया, आदमी सबका सब भाग रहा था। हमारा घर मालिक जाके दरवाजा ठकठकाया, बोला बाहर निकलो, टैंक फूट गया हुआ है।
The NDRF and Indian Army, along with other dedicated teams, mobilized the initial relief operations. 2,400 people were evacuated from the flooded areas, with 7,600 other finding refuge in relief camps. Over 3,000 tourists found themselves stranded across the state, while towns and cities like Chungthang, Dikchu, Sengtam, Rangpo, Malli and Teesta Bazar lay in ruins. As I'm making this video, many tourists are still trapped in North Sikkim. Army choppers are persistently working to get the stranded tourists rescued. Many bridges swallowed by the relentless river transporting essential supplies to the relief camps has turned into an epic struggle. The collapsed bridges has brought vehicular movement to a standstill, creating a logistic nightmare. In the face of this, commodities are getting transferred by constructing zip lines. That's the relentless efforts of locals and forces. The death toll is heart-wrenching. As on 11th October, 36 people are declared dead and 89 people are missing. Close to 1,500 households has been either completely washed away or severely damaged. Among the convoy of 23 army personnel who were swept away by the river at Bardang, except 2, no one has been found alive. The Sikkim government has declared the flood as the disaster. It is being said that the degree of destruction is even higher than the 1968 floods in Sikkim, which had created a similar kind of havoc in the state back then. But what happened in Sikkim wasn't just a tragic event. As I said, it was a disaster waiting to happen. Decades of research had warned us about the growing threat of glacial lake outburst floods, known as GLOFs, in the Himalayas. They are massive floods caused by retreating glaciers, and their destructive power is beyond imagination. South Lhonak Lake has already been put under the list of potential threats of glacial lake outburst flooding, along with many other lakes in the state. Scientists has been observing the Lhonak Glacier's alarming retreat and the birth of dangerous lakes since 1960s. They knew that the threat was real, yet actions were not taken with urgency required. Instead, dams were constructed to obstruct the flow of river. The Look Northeast policy saw the rapid expansion of hydroelectric power projects in the Himalayan region, but the foundation was shaky. Without adequate data on the region's water systems and the potential for extreme floods, these ambitious projects were built on a fragile ground. To engineer for the worst case scenario, you need data, the data which was lacking. Hydroelectric projects like Teesta 3 were said to have been constructed without a reliable baseline. Many experts are saying that had the dam not been bursted in Chungthang that night, the degree of damage could have been much lesser. Experts advocate that Teesta 3 wasn't just an accident. It was a culmination of negligence and miscalculation. They were reached, but they were unheeded. Emergency spillways were undecided. Critical warnings were ignored, and when disaster struck, the dam proved unprepared. The Teesta 3 disaster serves as a stark reminder that nature's fury cannot be tamed, but it can be understood and prepared for. Let this be a turning point, a moment when we choose to learn from our past and build a safer and more resilient future. In the aftermath, there is a pressing need for accountability with a radical change in approach. We can no longer afford to brush aside the threats posed by GLOFs, landslides, and cloudbursts. As we rebuild, we must prioritize accurate data, rigorous engineering, and a commitment to safeguard our national assets. Join me in spreading the message. Together, we can make a difference. If you like this video, please share it and don't forget to subscribe to SSC Sikkim. Thank you.